December 1975. Walk down any street at twilight. You hear at first kids laughing, boots crunching snow, carolers singing Silent Night. Somewhere, a saw cuts through pine.
On the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Every kitchen glows warm. Christmas in the 1960s wasn't something you bought, it was something you did. Let's start with the first one. December morning, the station wagon pulls into the tree farm. Snow everywhere. Dad grabs the saw from the trunk. Kids run ahead, scanning rows of evergreens. Mom walks slower, checking each tree. Too tall, too thin, not full enough. Finally the one. Dad kneels. Saw bites wood, back and forth. 15 minutes of sawing. Hands freeze. Knees soak through wet snow. Crack. The tree fall. Everyone grabs a branch, drag it to the car, strap it to the roof. Sap drips down the windshield. Pine smell fills the air. The drive home feels victorious. Pre-cut trees lined parking lots. Easier. Faster. No saws. No wet knees. Today, most families buy artificial trees from boxes. The family expedition to chop down your own Christmas tree? Gone. Big bowl of plain popcorn. No butter, no salt. This isn't for eating. Mom threads a needle, hands it to the oldest kid, starts stringing. One kernel at a time. Pierce it, slide it down the thread. Pierce another. Slide. Your fingers cramp, the needle bends, kernels crumble and fall apart. 2 hours later, 10 feet of garland. Maybe. You drape it over the tree, step back. It looks beautiful. Handmade. Real. But within days, problems start. Mice smell it. Ants find it. The popcorn dries out, shrinks, smells stale. Plastic garlands took over. Reusable, pest-free, cheap. Today, hand-strung popcorn garland is a Pinterest craft project people try once. The tedious, pest-attracting tradition popped its last kernel. Bundled in coats, scarves, mittens. A group of neighborhood kids grab songbooks and flashlights. No adults, no rehearsals, just kids who decided to go caroling. First house. Knock. Door opens. Launch into Jingle Bells. Voices crack. Someone forgets the words. Doesn't matter. The neighbor smiles. Hands out, candy canes. Next house. Deck the halls. A family opens the door wide, letting cold air in, just to listen. 10 houses later, pockets full of cookies and candy. It was spontaneous, community-driven, free. Parents worried about safety. Neighbors worried about strangers at their door. Today, caroling still happens, but it's organized, scheduled, supervised. The impromptu neighborhood caroling of the 70 seconds, silenced. Kitchen table covered in construction paper. Markers, glitter, glue, stamps. Every card handmade. Kids fold red and green paper, draw Christmas trees. Snowmen, stars. Glitter everywhere, table, floor, stuck to your clothes. Mom writes inside each card. Not generic messages. Personal notes. Hope your new house is wonderful. Can't wait to see you at Easter. 30 cards. An entire weekend. But receiving one felt special. Someone spent time making it just for you. Photo Christmas cards took over. One family picture. 50 identical cards printed in a week. By the 2000s, digital cards replaced physical ones. TV guide open on the coffee table. Red pen circles the date. December 12th, 7 p.m. A Charlie Brown Christmas. You mark the calendar. Clear the schedule. That night, the whole family gathers in the living room. No phones. No distractions. Mom makes popcorn. Kids sit on the floor. Inches from the TV. The special starts. 30 minutes. You can't pause. Can't rewind. If you miss it, that scarcity made it special. Next day at school, everyone talks about it. Did you see Charlie Brown last night? VHS tapes changed everything. Record it. Watch anytime. Today, we've covered 5 things so far: chopping trees, stringing popcorn, caroling, making cards, gathering for TV specials, and if you remember any of these, you know Christmas in the 70 seconds required time, effort, and togetherness.
Like most people, I'm doing my last-minute shopping.
But we're just getting started, because the next tradition, every family did it. It took hours, and it created one of the most iconic photos of the decade. Stick around. The kitchen smells like cinnamon for a week straight. Mom bakes batch after batch: sugar cookies, gingerbread men, snickerdoodles, peanut butter blossoms. Kids help roll dough, cut shapes, decorate with icing and sprinkles. Once baked and cooled, you arrange them on paper plates, wrap them in cellophane, tie a ribbon on top, then you walk them to every neighbor on your street. Not just close friends, everyone. Neighbors do the same. By mid-December, your kitchen counter is lined with plates of cookies from other families. You compare recipes, swap favorites, feel connected. It was reciprocal generosity. By the 1,990 seconds, store-bought cookies became the norm. Tins from Costco. Today, baking cookies still happens, but rarely, for the whole neighborhood. The tradition of baking and delivering dozens of plates crumbled. After dinner, pile into the car, drive slowly through decorated neighborhoods. No GPS, no apps, you just drive and discover. Some neighborhoods become famous, entire streets coordinate displays. Families compete for the brightest house, the most blow molds, the biggest collection. Kids press faces against windows, pointing at lit-up Santas, glowing reindeer, houses outlined in colored bulbs. Dad drives 10 miles per hour, narrates every display. Sometimes you bring thermoses of hot chocolate. Park, sip, just look. It was low-tech magic. No screens, just colored lights in the dark. By the 2000s, apps told you where the best displays were. Some neighborhoods charged admission. Today, it's planned. The spontaneous neighborhood drive to discover lights? Dimmed. Construction paper, red, green, white. Cut strips, glue them into rings, link each ring to the next. 25 loops total. Hang it on the wall. Every day in December, tear off one loop. When the chain is gone, Christmas is here. Kids loved it. Tactile, visual, interactive. You could see the days shrinking. Hold the countdown in your hands. Making the chain was part of the fun. Families sat together, cutting, gluing, linking. Some chains were neat, others chaotic, crooked glue, staples sticking out. But it worked. By the 1,990 seconds, pre-made advent calendars took over. Chocolate behind cardboard doors, Lego sets, beauty products. Today, paper chains are elementary school crafts. The handmade paper chain advent calendar, torn apart loop by loop. Christmas Eve, the family dresses up, suits, dresses, shined shoes, late evening service, candlelight. The church dims the lights. Everyone holds small white candles, singing Silent Night in the glow. It was solemn, beautiful, communal. Even families who didn't attend church regularly showed up on Christmas Eve. Kids fidget, fighting sleep. Parents remind them to stay quiet. But when the candles light and the church fills with soft singing, even restless kids feel the magic. After the service, drive home. Sometimes stop to look at lights. Go to bed knowing Christmas is just hours away. By the 2000s, church attendance on Christmas Eve declined. Families got busier. Services conflicted with other traditions. Today, some families still attend, but it's no longer universal. The packed church, candlelit tradition, blown out. Christmas Eve afternoon, kids bake cookies specifically for Santa. Not store-bought, homemade. Arrange them on a special plate. Pour cold milk. Set them on the coffee table or hearth. Add a carrot for the reindeer. Write a note. Dear Santa, thank you for the presents. Love, Jennifer. Go to bed. Excited, imagining Santa sitting in your living room, eating your cookies. Morning. The plate is empty except for crumbs. The milk glass has drops left. The carrot has a bite mark. Proof that Santa was there. Parents took this seriously. Nibbled cookies, sipped milk, left crumbs. Some left sooty boot prints near the fireplace. By the 2000s, the tradition became less universal. Some families skipped it. Others left store-bought cookies. The sacred Christmas Eve cookie plate ritual, half-eaten and fading. 10 traditions down, 20 more to go. And if you're keeping count, you've just realized something. Almost none of these feel mandatory anymore. Some became inconvenient. Some felt old-fashioned. Some just couldn't compete with modern life. But the next tradition? It required an entire afternoon, a ladder, and serious risk-taking. And every dad in America did it. Keep watching. Saturday morning, Dad hauls the ladder out of the garage, drags out boxes of C7 bulbs, extension cords tangled in knots. This is a full-day project. He climbs the ladder, clips lights to the roofline, gutters, porch railings, every bulb screwed in individually. If one doesn't work, you test the entire strand to find the dead bulb. Kids stand below, holding the ladder, handing up bulbs. Mom supervises from the driveway. That section looks uneven. Dad's hands freeze, knees scraped, patience thin. Hours later, the lights are up. Plug them in. The house glows. Red, green, blue, yellow, visible from 3 blocks away. A beacon of Christmas spirit. Neighbors walk by, compliment the display. Kids point from car windows. It was a dad achievement. Manual labor, risk, pride. But by the 2000s, light installation services exploded. You could hire someone. No ladders, no risk, no frozen hands. Professional displays became common, synchronized to music, controlled by apps. Today, most elaborate displays are done by professionals. The DIY roofline light tradition faded. The dad on a ladder, hand screwing in bulbs Christmas light tradition of the 70 seconds, unplugged. But if you remember your dad up on that ladder, one hand gripping the gutter, the other fumbling with a bulb in the cold, you remember the effort behind the glow. December, every classroom in America transforms. Art class, construction paper everywhere. Red, green, white. Kids cut out Christmas shapes, trees, stars, bells, stockings, snowflakes, glue, markers, glitter, chaos. Some kids are meticulous, perfect symmetrical shapes, straight cuts. Others are chaotic, crooked lines, too much glue, glitter on everything, but they all go up. Hang them from the ceiling, tape them to windows, line them along bulletin boards. The classroom becomes a DIY Christmas wonderland. Every decoration different, every one handmade. Teachers display them proudly. Parents see them at holiday concerts and smile. It was messy, time-consuming, required supervision, but it was personal. Kids created the environment they celebrated in. By the 2000s, store-bought decorations replaced handmade ones. Cheaper, faster, more polished. Pre-printed snowflakes, laminated banners, reusable garlands. Teachers could decorate in 10 minutes instead of dedicating entire class periods to crafts. Today, some classrooms still do crafts, but rarely for actual decoration. They're activities, not environment building. The construction paper chaos of the 70 seconds classroom? Cut and discarded. But if you remember sitting at your desk, glue on your fingers, glitter in your hair, staring up at the paper snowflake you made hanging from the ceiling, you remember what it felt like to create the world you lived in. No kits, no pre-cut pieces. From scratch, you bake sheets of gingerbread, thick, sturdy, let them cool. Then you cut out walls and roofs with a knife, measure carefully. One wrong cut, and the house won't stand. Royal icing becomes glue, thick, sticky. You pipe it along edges, press walls together, hold them, wait for the icing to harden. It takes forever. The pieces crack, the icing doesn't hold, the roof slides off. You start over. Finally, it stands, lopsided, imperfect, but it's yours. Now comes the fun part. Decorating. Gumdrops for bushes, candy canes for fences, powdered sugar for snow. Kids go wild. Icing everywhere, candy stuck to the table, fingers sticky. By the time you finish, the kitchen is a disaster, but the gingerbread house sits proudly on the counter. It lasted maybe a week before it started crumbling, but for that week, it was a centerpiece, a conversation starter, proof of effort. Pre-made gingerbread house kits flooded stores, everything pre-cut, pre-measured, icing included. Snap the pieces together, decorate. Done in an hour. Today, most gingerbread houses come from kits. The scratch-built, hours-long, crack-prone gingerbread house tradition crumbled. But if you remember the smell of gingerbread baking, the frustration of walls collapsing, the pride when it finally stood, you remember what building something from nothing felt like. Christmas morning, the presents are opened, wrapping paper everywhere. But you don't throw it away. Mom carefully unwraps each gift, folds the paper, smooths out the wrinkles, winds up the ribbon. Everything gets saved for next year. It wasn't about being cheap. It was about not being wasteful. Wrapping paper was expensive. Ribbon, even more so. You didn't throw away something you could use again. Next December, you'd pull out the saved paper. Some pieces had tape marks, some had creases, but they still worked. You'd cut around the damaged parts, use the good sections, make it work. Ribbons got reused for years. Curled, recurled, tied and retied. It was thrifty, practical, expected. By the 1,990 seconds, wrapping paper became so cheap that reusing it felt pointless. Dollar stores sold rolls for $1. Why save wrinkled paper when you could buy new for nothing? Gift bags took over. No wrapping, no tape, reusable by design. Today, most people use gift bags or cheap wrapping paper they throw away immediately. The careful folding, saving, and reusing of wrapping paper and ribbon torn apart. But if you remember your mom smoothing out wrapping paper on Christmas morning, folding it into neat squares, tucking it into a drawer, you remember when reusing wasn't a trend. It was just what you did. The record player sits in the living room. Beside it, a stack of Christmas albums. Bing Crosby, Nat King Cole, Gene Autry, Andy Williams, Perry Como, the Ray Conniff singers. You pull one out. Slide the vinyl from its sleeve, careful not to touch the grooves. Fingerprints ruin the sound. Set it on the turntable. Lift the needle. Place it gently on the first track. Crackle, pop, then music. White Christmas fills the room. No skipping tracks, no playlists. You listen to the whole album, in order. Side A finishes. The needle lifts, returns to its rest. You flip it. Side B plays. It was intentional. You sat and listened. Or you did other things while the music played in the background. Decorating the tree, wrapping presents, baking cookies. But you couldn't skip, couldn't shuffle, couldn't customize. The album was the experience, the artist's vision, start to finish. Christmas music filled the house for weeks. The same albums, Over and over, you memorized every song, every scratch, every pop. You knew exactly when the crackle would happen on track 3. When the skip would hit on side B, it became part of the song, part of the memory. By the 1,990 seconds, CDs replaced records. Easier to skip tracks, easier to store. No flipping, then MP3s, then streaming. Today, you can create a custom Christmas playlist in seconds. Shuffle, skip, repeat one song 100 times. Algorithms curate playlists for you. Christmas classics, holiday favorites, cozy Christmas morning. The ritual of playing a Christmas record on a turntable? Scratched out. But if you remember the crackle of the needle hitting vinyl, the warmth of analog sound filling the room, the act of flipping the record to side B, the care required not to scratch it. You remember when music required participation. You remember when listening wasn't passive. You had to choose the album, handle it carefully, flip it halfway through. Music wasn't background noise. It was an event, a ritual, something you did with your hands. Before phone calls were cheap, before email existed, there was the telegram. Short, formal, expensive. You'd go to the post office or call the telegram service, dictate your message. Every word cost money, so you kept it brief. Merry Christmas, stop, miss you, stop, love, always stop. The telegram would be delivered by mail or phone. The recipient would treasure it. It wasn't casual, it was significant. You didn't send a telegram unless the message mattered. Some families sent Christmas telegrams to relatives far away, grandparents in another state, siblings overseas. Receiving one felt special, formal, important. The paper was distinct, the format recognizable, the effort unmistakable. By the 1,990 seconds, phone calls became affordable. Long-distance rates dropped. You could call and talk for an hour for less than the cost of a telegram, then email, then texting. Today, you can send a Christmas message instantly, free, to anyone, anywhere. The formal Christmas telegram tradition of the 70 seconds, disconnected. But if you remember the weight of receiving a telegram, the careful unfolding of the paper, the significance of words chosen precisely because each one cost money, you remember when messages required intention. Flour, salt, water, mix. 2 cups flour, 1 cup salt, 1 cup water. Stir until it forms dough. Roll it out, flat, about 1/4 inch thick. Cut shapes with cookie cutters, stars, trees, bells, gingerbread men, candy canes. Poke a hole at the top with a toothpick for hanging. Lay them on a baking sheet. Bake them, low heat, 250 degrees, hours. The kitchen smells like salt and heat. Not pleasant, not terrible, just distinct. Once cool, paint them. Red, green, gold, silver. Kids decorate with markers, glitter, stickers, sequins. Some kids are careful, neat lines, perfect colors. Others go wild, glitter everywhere. Paint mixed into muddy brown. Thread ribbon through the hole. Hang them on the tree. They're fragile, prone to cracking, heavy, not polished, but they're handmade, personal, yours. Some families write names and dates on them. Emily, 1,976. David, 1,978. Years later, pulling them out of storage feels like time travel. You hold an ornament you made when you were 6, your handwriting, your paint strokes. By the 2000s, pre-made ornaments became so cheap and durable that making salt dough versions felt pointless. You could buy a box of 12 ornaments for $5. Shiny, uniform, unbreakable, glass, plastic, shatterproof, beautiful. Why spend hours making fragile salt dough ornaments when you could buy better ones for less? Today, salt dough ornaments are nostalgic crafts. People make them once for the memory. Post the photo on Instagram, then switch back to store-bought. The homemade salt dough ornament tradition of the 70 seconds crumbled. But if you remember the weight of a salt dough star in your hand, Your name written in marker on the back, the rough texture, the uneven paint, the pride of hanging something you made you remember when ornaments weren't decorations. They were artifacts. You remember when the tree wasn't decorated with perfect, matching ornaments. It was decorated with evidence, evidence of effort, of time, of childhood. Sunday afternoon, December. The house is spotless. Mom bakes all week. Cookies, fudge, cheese balls, deviled eggs, sausage balls, pigs in a blanket. The dining table is covered. Plates of food everywhere. Napkins. Paper plates stacked high. Dad sets up the punch bowl. Red punch. Sherbet floating on top. Ladle hanging off the side. The door stays unlocked. Neighbors drop by any time between 2 and 6. No invitations, no RSVPs, just open doors and open invitations. People come and go, stay for 10 minutes or 2 hours. The Johnsons arrive at 2, the Smiths at 3. The Williams stop by at 4:30 on their way home from church. Kids play in the basement, running, laughing, toys scattered. Adults chat in the living room, kitchen, hallway, wherever there's space. Everyone eats, plates refilled, cookies disappearing. It's casual, warm, communal. You see neighbors you only wave to the rest of the year. Catch up, share stories, feel connected. How's your son doing at college? Did you ever fix that fence? We should get together more often. By the end of the afternoon, the house is full of laughter, crumbs, and empty plates. It was effortless hospitality. No formal dinner, no seating charts, no assigned seats. Just open your home and let people come. By the 2000s, open houses declined. Families got busier, schedules harder to coordinate. Formal parties replaced informal gatherings. Invitations required. RSVPs expected. Head counts needed. Today, most Christmas parties are planned events, set times, guest lists, structured, catered sometimes. The drop by anytime Christmas open house tradition of the 70 seconds, closed. But if you remember walking into a neighbor's house on a December afternoon, the smell of cookies hitting you at the door, the ease of just showing up, filling a plate without asking, staying as long as you wanted. You remember when hospitality didn't require planning. You remember when open house meant exactly that. Open, no barriers, no formality, just come. Eggs, milk, cream, sugar, nutmeg, sometimes rum. You make it from scratch. Separate the eggs, whites in one bowl, yolks in another. Whip the yolks with sugar until thick, pale yellow, ribbon-like consistency. Slowly add milk and cream. Stir constantly, gently. In another bowl, whip the egg whites, stiff peaks. Fold them into the mixture. Careful not to deflate them. It takes time, precision, effort. Chill it. Hours in the refrigerator. Serve it in special glasses, crystal punch cups, or short tumblers. Sprinkle nutmeg on top, fresh grated if you had it. The taste is rich, creamy, thick enough to coat your tongue. Nothing like store-bought. Some families made it every Christmas Eve. A ritual, a recipe, passed down from grandmother to mother to daughter. Kids got the non-alcoholic version. Sweet, thick, cold. Adults added rum or bourbon. Sometimes brandy. A generous pour. It was a treat. Special, homemade, but making eggnog was risky. Raw eggs, if not handled properly, salmonella. Some families didn't care. We've been making it this way for 50 years. Nobody's gotten sick yet. Others worried, but made it anyway. Tradition outweighed caution. By the 1,990 seconds, store-bought eggnog flooded grocery stores, pasteurized, safe, ready to drink. Cartons lined the dairy aisle. Different brands, different flavors, some with alcohol already added. You could buy a carton for $3. Why spend an hour making it when you could pour it straight from the fridge? Today, homemade eggnog is rare. Most people buy it. Some skip it entirely. The from-scratch, hand-whipped, raw egg-risking eggnog tradition of the 72nds? Curdled. But if you remember watching your mom separate eggs, the careful folding of ingredients, the way she'd let you lick the whisk, the first sip of thick, creamy eggnog that tasted nothing like the store version you remember when homemade wasn't a choice, it was the only option. You remember when eggnog wasn't just a drink. It was an event, a process, a risk your family took together every Christmas Eve. 20 traditions covered, 10 remaining. And here's what's wild. Every single one of these required something modern Christmas doesn't: your physical presence, your hands, your time, your neighbors. But the next tradition? It didn't just require effort, it required coordination across entire streets. And when it worked, it was magic. Keep going. Saturday morning, December. Main Street closes to traffic. The entire town shows up. Families line the sidewalks. Kids sit on curbs. Parents stand behind them. Grandparents bring folding chairs. The parade starts at 10. First comes the high school marching band, playing Jingle Bells, off-key but loud. Everyone claps. Then the fire trucks, lights flashing, sirens off. Firefighters wave, kids wave back. Local businesses sponsor floats, the hardware store, the diner, the bank, each one decorated with tinsel and paper snowflakes. Beauty queens ride on convertibles, sashes across their chests, waving like royalty. The Girl Scouts march. The Little League team rides on a flatbed truck. Then the moment everyone's waiting for. Santa. He rides on the last float, a makeshift sleigh, pulled by a tractor, or the fire truck, or sometimes just a pickup truck, with plywood reindeer bolted to the hood. Kids scream, "Santa!" He waves, throws candy. Peppermints and Tootsie Rolls scatter across the pavement. Kids scramble to grab them. The parade lasts 30 minutes. Then it's over. Families walk to the diner for hot chocolate, or home for lunch. It wasn't elaborate. It wasn't polished. But it was community. Everyone participated. Everyone attended. It was the event of the season. By the 2000s, many small towns stopped holding parades. Too expensive. Not enough volunteers. Insurance costs too high. Some towns tried to keep the tradition alive, but attendance dropped. Floats got simpler. Sponsors pulled out. Today, Christmas parades still happen in some places, but they're rarer, smaller, less central to the season. The small-town Christmas parade tradition of the 72nds, where the entire community stopped everything to line Main Street and watch the high school band march past, marched away. But if you remember standing on a cold curb, waiting for Santa's float to appear, scrambling for candy thrown from passing fire trucks, the sense that everyone you knew was standing on that same street with you, you remember when a parade wasn't entertainment. It was community made visible. Christmas Eve. Late. Almost midnight. You're wrapping the last few gifts. The wrapping paper roll runs out. You stare at the remaining presents. Unwrapped. No stores open. No backup paper. Then you remember the Sunday comics. You dig through the recycling. Pull out the comic section. Pages of colorful panels. Peanuts. Beetle Bailey. Blondie. You smooth them out. Cut them to size. Wrap the gifts. It works. The comics are colorful. Festive even. And free. Some families didn't wait for the paper to run out. They used comics on purpose. Creative, resourceful, different. Kids loved it. Unwrapping presents covered in Charlie Brown and Snoopy felt special. Personal. Not like everyone else's shiny store-bought paper. It was a badge of practicality, a sign of making do, of creativity over consumption, but it also signaled something else. You didn't have excess. You used what you had. Wrapping paper became absurdly cheap. Dollar stores sold rolls for $1, sometimes less. You could buy 5 rolls and still spend less than a coffee. Why use newspaper when wrapping paper was practically free? Gift bags entered the scene. Reusable. No cutting. No tape. Today, wrapping paper is so abundant and cheap that using newspaper feels like a statement. A quirky choice. A Pinterest idea. It wasn't quirky. It was practical. It was what you did when the paper ran out. The comic section wrapping tradition of the 70 seconds, recycled into history. But if you remember the crinkle of newsprint, the smell of ink on your fingers, unwrapping a gift covered in Sunday comics and realizing your parents stayed up late to make sure every gift was wrapped, even if it meant using newspaper. You remember when resourcefulness wasn't celebrated, it was just expected. You remember when making do didn't need an explanation. It was simply what families did. Kitchen table, early December. Mom brings in a bag of pine cones, collected from the yard, or the park, or bought at the craft store for 50 cents. Big ones, small ones, some still sticky with sap. A can of gold spray paint, another of silver. You take the pine cones outside, lay them on newspaper, spread across the driveway or back porch. Spray them, gold, silver. Some left natural brown. The paint smell is strong, chemical. It hangs in the cold air. Let them dry, an hour, maybe 2. Inside, you arrange them on a tray, pillar candles in the center. Red, white, green, thick, unscented, pine cones around the candles, arranged in a circle, or scattered casually. Maybe add some greenery, holly branches, pine sprigs, cedar clippings from the yard, a ribbon, red velvet, tied in a bow, tucked into the arrangement. It sits on the dining table, or the mantel, or the coffee table. It's rustic. Guests compliment it. Did you make that? It's beautiful. You nod, proud. It cost almost nothing, just time and effort. Making centerpieces was something many families did together. Kids helped spray paint, arrange pine cones, choose where it would go, put the big ones in the back. No, that one goes there. Can I light the candles? It wasn't just decoration. It was a project, a way to create something together. An afternoon activity that resulted in something you'd see every day for the next month. By the 2000s, pre-made centerpieces flooded stores. Target, Walmart, Home Goods, Pier 1. You could buy a finished centerpiece for $10. Professional looking, perfectly arranged, no spray paint, no mess, no pine cones to collect, artificial pine cones, fake candles with LED lights. Friday night, December. The town square fills with people. Families arrive bundled in coats, scarves, mittens, hats pulled low against the cold. Kids clutch hot chocolate from the church booth set up on the corner, steam rising from paper cups, marshmallows melting on top. The Christmas tree stands in the center, tall, unlit, waiting, 20 feet tall, maybe 30 in bigger towns, branches heavy with unlit bulbs. A crowd gathers, hundreds of people, maybe thousands in bigger towns. They line the sidewalks, fill the square, stand shoulder to shoulder. You see your neighbors, your teachers, the librarian, the mailman, people you recognize but don't know by name. The mayor steps up to the microphone, gives a short speech, thanks the volunteers who decorated the tree. Everyone wishes the town a Merry Christmas. The crowd cheers. Kids point. Parents lift little ones onto their shoulders for a better view. Look at the tree. The high school choir sings carols, standing in rows beside the tree. wearing matching scarves. O holy night, silent night, joy to the world. People stand and listen, sing along. November. Grandma pulls out the sewing kit. Red felt, green felt, white felt, patterns traced on paper. She cuts the shapes, 2 pieces per stocking, front and back. Then she sews them together, by hand, or on the old sewing machine that sounds like a lawnmower. Once the stocking is sewn, the decorating begins. She cuts out shapes, trees, stars, snowflakes, candy canes, glues them to the front, adds sequins, glitter, ribbon. At the top, she stitches a name: Michael, Sarah, David. Each stocking unique, handmade, personal. They hang on the mantel on Christmas Eve, each one different, each one crafted specifically for the person whose name is on it. Kids treasure them, not just for the candy and small toys stuffed inside on Christmas morning, but because someone made it for them. Years later, those stockings come out of storage, faded, frayed, sequins missing, but still used, because they're not just stockings, they're artifacts, evidence of time spent, love stitched into felt. By the 2000s, store-bought stockings became standard. Target, Walmart, pre-made, names embroidered by machine. You could buy a stocking for $5. Why spend hours sewing one when you could buy a nicer-looking version instantly? Personalization became a service. Drop off the stocking, pick it up a week later with the name embroidered. Today, most Christmas stockings are store-bought, matching sets, coordinated designs. The hand-sewn felt stocking tradition of the 72nds, unstitched. But if you remember pulling your stocking out of storage every year, the fabric soft and worn, your name stitched in wobbly letters because your grandmother did it by hand, the weight of knowing someone spent hours making it just for you. You remember when a stocking wasn't decoration, it was inheritance. You remember when handmade didn't mean rustic or charming or Pinterest-worthy. It meant someone loved you enough to sit with needle and thread and felt and sequins and make something that would hang on the mantel every Christmas for the rest of your life. That's what handmade meant. 25 traditions down, 5 left, and if you've made it this far, you've just relived 50 years of Christmas history, the traditions that required labor, patience, and participation. But these final 5, these were the heart of 72nds Christmas, the ones that made you feel like you belonged to something bigger than yourself. Friday night, December. The town square fills with people. Families arrive bundled in coats, scarves, mittens, hats pulled low against the cold. Kids clutch hot chocolate from the church booth set up on the corner, steam rising from paper cups, marshmallows melting on top. The Christmas tree stands in the center, tall, unlit, waiting, 20 feet tall, maybe 30 in bigger towns, branches heavy with unlit bulbs. A crowd gathers, hundreds of people, maybe thousands in bigger towns. They line the sidewalks, fill the square, stand shoulder to shoulder. You see your neighbors, your teachers, the librarian, the mailman, people you recognize but don't know by name. The mayor steps up to the microphone, gives a short speech, thanks the volunteers who decorated the tree, welcomes everyone, wishes the town a Merry Christmas. Then the countdown. 10, 9, 8. Everyone joins in. Kids scream the numbers. Adults smile, voices rising together. 3, 2, 1. The mayor flips the switch. The tree lights up. Red, green, blue, yellow, white. Thousands of bulbs. All at once. The crowd cheers. Kids point. Parents lift little ones onto their shoulders for a better view. Look at the tree. The high school choir sings carols, standing in rows beside the tree, wearing matching scarves. O holy night, silent night, joy to the world. People stand and listen, sing along, voices blending in the cold night air. Some cry, not from sadness, from the overwhelming sense of togetherness. This isn't just a tree, it's a moment, a shared experience, a collective beginning to the season. After the ceremony, families walk around the square, visit booths, buy handmade crafts, drink more hot chocolate, eat cookies sold by the PTA. Kids run around, chasing each other, laughing. Parents chat, catch up with people they haven't seen in months. Everyone feels connected. By the 2000s, many towns stopped holding tree lighting ceremonies. Budget cuts, declining attendance, insurance costs, liability concerns, fewer volunteers, harder to coordinate, expensive to maintain. Some towns tried to keep the tradition alive, scaled it down, moved it to a smaller location, a park, a parking lot. But the massive, town-wide, everyone attends tree lighting ceremony? Rare. Today, tree lighting ceremonies still happen in some places, but they're smaller, less central, competing with dozens of other December events, concerts, markets, parades, festivals. The town square tree lighting tradition of the 70 seconds, where the entire community gathered on one night, counted down together, and watched the tree light up as one dimmed. But if you remember standing in a crowd of neighbors, strangers, friends, all counting down together, the collective gasp when the lights turned on, the feeling that this moment belonged to everyone. You remember when Christmas didn't start with a calendar date. It started when the town tree lit up. Kitchen table, felt sheets spread out. Red, green, white, gold, silver, patterns traced, stars, trees, bells, gingerbread men, candy canes, stockings. You cut them out, 2 pieces per ornament, front and back. Scissors dull from cutting felt. Your hand cramps. Glue them together, white craft glue, thick, slow drying. Leave a small opening at the top. Stuff them with cotton, pulled from a bag. Fluffy, light. Glue the opening shut, hold it until it sticks. Now comes the fun part, decorating. Sequins, tiny, shiny, gold, silver, red, green, blue. You glue them on one by one, outlining shapes, creating patterns. A row of sequins around the edge of a star, a zigzag pattern on a tree, random sparkles on a bell. Your fingers stick together, glue everywhere. On the table, on your shirt, in your hair. Sequins fall off before the glue dries. You glue them back on. They fall off again. You press harder, hold longer. It takes forever. One ornament might take 30 minutes, sometimes longer. But when you're done, it's yours. Unique. Handmade. No 2 ornaments look the same. Some are neat, sequins perfectly aligned. Others are chaotic. Glue blobs, sequins crooked, felt edges uneven. But they're all finished. Thread a ribbon through the top, tie a loop, hang it on the tree. The ornament is soft, light, sparkles in the tree lights. You step back, admire your work. Every year, you pull them out of storage. Some sequins have fallen off, some felt has faded, edges frayed. But they still go on the tree, because you made them, with your own hands, at the kitchen table, with glue on your fingers and sequins in your hair. By the 2000s, store-bought ornaments were everywhere. Beautiful, polished, durable. You could buy a box of 12 ornaments for $5, glass, shatterproof, perfectly uniform, matching colors, coordinated designs. Why spend hours gluing sequins onto felt when you could have a tree full of matching ornaments in minutes? Easier, faster, better looking. Today, felt ornaments are craft kits for kids, a rainy day activity, something to do when it's cold outside. Not serious decorations. The hand-glued, sequin-covered felt ornament tradition of the 70 seconds, unglued. But if you remember the satisfying click of sequins stuck to glue, the pride of hanging an ornament you made, The way your felt ornament hung next to store-bought glass ones, and you didn't care because yours had your effort embedded in every sequin. Thursday afternoon, December. The school bus pulls up to the nursing home. Kids pile out, choir robes, sheet music, nervous energy. Some kids have never been to a nursing home before. They don't know what to expect. Inside, the hallway smells like disinfectant and cafeteria food. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. Residents gather in the common room, wheelchairs, walkers, some sitting, some standing, all waiting. Their faces light up when the kids walk in. The choir lines up, arranges itself in rows. The teacher raises her hand. The music starts. Silent night. Oh, holy night. Joy to the world. The kids sing. Some voices strong, some shaky, some off-key. One kid forgets the words. Another fidgets with their robe. But the residents don't care. They smile. Some sing along, voices cracked and quiet but still singing. Some cry, silent tears running down wrinkled cheeks. An old woman in a wheelchair closes her eyes, sways gently, mouthing the words. After the songs, kids walk around, talk to residents, hand out handmade cards, construction paper, glitter, crayon drawings of Christmas trees and snowmen. Merry Christmas, ma'am. Thank you, sweetheart. An old man holds a card, stares at it, studies the drawing, thanks the child who made it, holds it against his chest. A woman asks a girl's name. Sarah? That was my daughter's name. It's a simple visit, 30 minutes. But it matters. For the residents, it's connection. Proof they haven't been forgotten. Proof the world outside still remembers they exist. For the kids, it's service. A lesson in showing up, in giving time, in seeing people who are often invisible. This wasn't a one-time event. It was a tradition. Schools, churches, scout troops, all made trips to nursing homes in December every year. Same nursing home, same songs, different kids, different residents. It was expected, part of the season, a way to remember those who might not have family visiting. By the 2000s, these visits became less common. Liability concerns, stricter nursing home policies, busy school schedules, insurance requirements, permission slips for every child, background checks for chaperones. Nursing homes worried about germs, kids bringing flu, residents getting sick. Schools worried about liability. What if a child gets hurt? What if something goes wrong? Some schools still do it, but it's rarer, more complicated, requires months of planning and paperwork. Today, nursing home caroling is often replaced by video messages or cards mailed in, not in-person visits. Zoom calls, pre-recorded performances, safer, easier, less risk. The Christmas caroling at nursing homes tradition of the 70 seconds? Quieted. Early December. Dad comes home with branches. Real holly. Dark green leaves. Bright red berries. Prickly. Mom arranges them on the mantel, tucks sprigs behind picture frames, places them in vases on the dining table and buffet. The house smells like winter, fresh, green, natural. Mistletoe hangs in the doorway. White berries, green leaves, tied with a red ribbon. Kids giggle, adults kiss beneath it. It's a rule. Walk under the mistletoe, you have to kiss. Grandpa catches Grandma under the doorway. She laughs. They kiss. Kids cheer. The decorations are natural, real, not plastic, not artificial. You could reach out and touch the leaves. Feel the texture, the sharp edges, the waxy surface. But real holly and mistletoe come with problems. The berries fall, scattered on the mantel, on the floor, vacuumed up twice a week. The leaves dry out. They get brittle, sharp. Holly pricks your fingers when you dust. Little cuts on your hands from adjusting decorations. Mistletoe berries are poisonous if eaten, dangerous if you have toddlers or pets. You hang it high, out of reach, but you worry. After a week, the greenery wilts, turns brown, starts to look sad. You throw it away, replace it, or leave it up and pretend it still looks festive. Some families replace the branches mid-season, a second trip to buy fresh holly. More effort, more money. Others just lived with the browning leaves, part of the season's natural cycle. By the 2000s, artificial versions became standard. Plastic holly, fake mistletoe. Reusable, safer, lasts forever. You could buy a bundle of artificial holly for $3. Hang it once, use it for 20 years. No wilting, no berries falling, no sharp leaves, no poison risk. Why deal with the mess and danger of real greenery when fake looked almost the same? Today, most holly and mistletoe decorations are artificial or absent entirely. The real holly and mistletoe tradition of the 70 seconds withered. But if you remember the prick of holly leaves when you reached behind a picture frame to adjust it, the smell of fresh greenery filling the house, the unspoken rule that walking under the mistletoe meant you had to kiss whoever was nearest. You remember when decorations weren't just visual, they were sensory, tactile, alive. You remember when greenery wilted, when it died, when you had to replace it mid-season. Because it was real, and real things don't last forever. They fade, they dry out, they need care. And maybe that was the point. Maybe decorations that required maintenance, that pricked your fingers, that eventually died, maybe they reminded you that beauty requires effort, that nothing lasts without attention. That Christmas, like holly. Saturday morning, December. 10 families, 1 kitchen, everyone brings a batch of one type of cookie. 5 dozen minimum. Sugar cookies, gingerbread, snickerdoodles, peanut butter blossoms, chocolate crinkles. The cookies cover every surface. Counters, tables, folding tables brought in just for this. Each family brings containers, Tupperware, tins, boxes. The exchange begins. You walk around. Fill your container, a few of each type. By the end, you have 5 dozen cookies, 10 different varieties. Everyone goes home with the same number they brought. But instead of 5 dozen of one type, you have a sampled assortment. It was efficient, collaborative, social. While the exchange happened, people talked, shared recipes, traded tips. How do you get your snickerdoodles so soft? What kind of jam do you use for thumbprints? Kids played, adults chatted, coffee brewed, the kitchen buzzed. By noon, everyone had their containers packed, ready to go home. The cookie exchange wasn't just about cookies. It was about gathering, about sharing effort, about cooperation. You baked one type, but you left with 10. By the 2000s, cookie exchanges declined. Too much coordination, too much baking. People got busier. Some families still do them, but they're rarer, smaller, often among close friends, not entire neighborhoods. Today, most people bake 1 or 2 types of cookies for their own family. Maybe give a plate to 1 or 2 neighbors. The organized, neighborhood-wide cookie exchange tradition of the 70 seconds crumbled. But if you remember standing in a crowded kitchen, filling a tin with 10 different types of cookies, asking someone how they made their fudge so creamy, the rituals passed down that made Christmas feel earned. Today, celebrating is easier. Pre-made everything. So here's the question. Which of these 30 traditions do you remember most? Was it chopping down your own tree? Caroling with friends? Baking cookies for the neighborhood? Making ornaments with your grandmother? Standing in the town square as the tree lit up? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you made it all the way through this video, thank you. You just spent time reliving Christmas past with me. If you want more nostalgic deep dives like this, subscribe and hit the bell.